can be expected in terms of a ramping up of vaccine production is Renu Swarup, the Secretary of the Department of Biotechnology, also a member of the NEGVAC. Ms. Swarup, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV18. I want to understand, ma'am, what the situation currently is in terms of supply. So far, the government has maintained the reason why there was an age cap of 45 is so that the supply could be commensurate with the need. Now, we have decided to open things up to all above the age of 18 from the 1st of May. But do we have enough supply to cater to this large population?
So thank you, Shireen. And I think you have been tracking the whole vaccine development, production and manufacture over these last couple of months. And you would have seen that in January, we gave the first emergency use authorization to two of our vaccines, the Covishield and the Covaxin. And you do understand and appreciate that manufacture of vaccines, ramping them up is a complex issue, and it takes its time by the time it can be ready to be made available in sufficient numbers. As we stand today, the facilities both at the Serum Institute and the Bharat Biotech have now been able to come to a situation where they are ready to ramp up their production. And in addition to the facility at the Bharat Biotech for Covaxin, we've also been able to bring in other manufacturing partners who can take on the Covaxin production. And you would have read about it a couple of days back. We put out that press note. So with this, we are confident that the capacities for both these vaccines will increase. We also now have a third vaccine which has been given the emergency use authorization, and that is Sputnik, which is an Indo-Russian partnership. There again, we are looking at manufacturing happening within the country, but to begin with, there will be doses which will come in as imported vials, and then also the drug substance which will be brought in for fill finish. So I think this is clearly a situation where we are in a much better position than what we were in January when we began this whole immunization and vaccination drive. So it gives us confidence that we will have supplies now being ramped up to meet the requirement and the demand as it moves on.
Right. Ms. Swarup, several things that you've mentioned there, that we are in a much better position versus January, and I don't think anybody can argue with that. But again, as you point out, that, you know, ramping up vaccine production is a complex thing. It's not as if you can switch on a light bulb today and it comes on stream tomorrow. So what is the current production capacity, both at Serum and Bharat Biotech? And by when have these companies told you that they will be ready to actually augment capacity? You said that they are ready to ramp up, but when will they be able to start production from the additional facilities?
So this is already happening, Shireen. It's not that there is a, like Serum, they've already begun their work onto it. And when we say begun their work on it, you see, when vaccine production has to move into a new facility, the fill and finish lines have to be validated and put in place. The actual bioreactors have to be developed. So all that has been happening. That's what I said. These months have actually been used to ramp up those facilities, and they are now ready to take on large-scale production. Both at Serum, where they have taken on this additional facility which they are working on. Similarly, at Bharat Biotech, they have within Hyderabad itself 4 facilities that they have got ready to take on this production. They have a new facility at Bangalore which they are bringing into this production. So many of these facilities were earlier set up, keeping other vaccines in mind which they were preparing to manufacture. And now they've taken this on for the COVID vaccine. In addition, we have also brought in 3 other partners for Covaxin, the Indian Immunologicals at Hyderabad, the Hafkin at Mumbai, Bibcol at Bulandshahr. Now, these are where new facilities are being brought in. So those would probably have a time frame of about 6 months or so to come in. So it's not just for 1st May, but keeping the supply chains ready for the next couple of months.
Yeah.
But then we also are also confident because there are a number of other candidates which are in their late stage of development. We have the DNA vaccine from Cadila, which is already now completing its phase 3. So we do look at that coming in for the regulator's approval very soon. Similarly, we have Biological E in Hyderabad, Their vaccine has completed successfully its phase 2, and they are now going into the regulator to begin their phase 3 and then move for the data generation for that, which again would be a matter of weeks or months by the time it comes to the regulator. There is a very important provision which was made in May last year, which allowed the manufacturers to do stockpiling even while they were doing the phase 3 trials. So this allows our current manufacturers who are in phase 3 at risk, at their own risk, to start a stockpiling, so that the day they are ready for an approval, we will have batches which are ready to roll out. You saw that in the case of Covishield, you saw that in the case of Covaxin. So that again gives us the confidence that in the next couple of months, we will have more such candidates rolling out for our immunization program.
Yes, the pipeline is looking stronger, Ms. Swarup, but I wanted to understand what happens from the 1st of May. Because at this point in time, you're going to open up now to those above the age of 18, which means a large population will arrive at vaccination centers. How that process is going to work through the CoWIN app, etc., we still require clarity. There is the added element now of states having to procure directly from vaccine manufacturers, as well as the private market being able to procure directly from vaccine manufacturers. So I'm trying to understand what happens on the 1st of May, because till the 1st of May, I imagine that the supply remains as is. Is that not the fact?
No. So in April, we are looking at increased supplies. Sputnik has come in as a new partner, which is also going to bring in supplies, which will come in during the month of April itself. And the Ministry of Health has developed a very clear plan on how this will happen. So this has been well thought out by the Health Ministry, and they do have a plan of action on how they're going to work with the states and how, I mean, this has been in talks for some time now before this decision was taken to open it up. So the Health Ministry has been working on it. And if you see the way they have been able to put out first for the healthcare workers, the frontline workers, then above 60, above 45, it's been done in a graded manner. And I'm sure that with all the experience that the Health Ministry has and the discussions they've had with the state government and many of the private players as well, they will be able to take care of this.
Right. Ms. Swarup, you said that you expect Sputnik to come into the market by April. But we had Dr. Reddy's this morning, the distributor for Sputnik, saying that the imported consignment, the target is only end May or June. So there seems to be a difference between what the government is expecting and what the companies in question are expecting.
So there are two things in that, Shireen, and which I would like to point out. One is that there are imported vials which would come in, and they're working on that. So April or first week of May is really the targets that were being looked at. Then there is a drug substance which is to be imported into the country, which we'll be putting it for fill and finish with one of our one or two or more of the manufacturers they are currently in discussion with. That will take about 30 days time for it to be put through the fill and finish line, get the regulators' approval and move out. And parallelly, the 5 manufacturers that they have worked with, out of those, 2 of them are in an advanced stage of manufacturing, and those again should happen by June. So there are 3 steps through which the Sputnik vaccine is currently in discussion.
Okay, but ma'am, again, has this been communicated by RDIF that they are going to bring in the first batch of imported vials into India by the end of April? Because I go back again to the conversation that we had with Dr. Reddy's this morning, where it was very clear that they're only going to be bringing in the imported consignment towards the end of May or June.
So the information that we have within the government from our discussions with RDIF is by end of April or first week of May. If there is some change in their stand this morning, we will have to check back on that, because that's really the information that we have from RDIF.